Huh? Oh, that's interesting. But it's missing something. Oh, that's better. Professor Voxelpot. I knew it was you. You're very smart, but you're forgetting one thing. Never bring porcelain to a gunfight. Finally defeated my arch nemesis. Okay. So, this is my second prototype for my game, and a few things have changed. It's still the basic same layout. I now have added guns to my video game, so I have more functionality. So the premise of this prototype is the same, where I have 10 pillars numbered 1 through 10, but each obstacle is different now. It's more complex because I have more things I can do. So the first one to knock down the number 1 is a bowling alley. Second one is in a cage, so I'll have to use my guns to get that one. The third one is encased in a glass box, but the back is open, so I'll have to ride up this ramp and shoot it from the back. The number 4 is the same, but there's a series of trapdoors that they're like, I'll have to trigger them, and then they'll fall down, and then it'll create platforms for me to jump across. Number 5 is in a glass case, but it's only open from the top. Number 6 is in the same spot, hidden in the corner there. 7, 8, and 9 are in the same spot, but they're raised up, so I'll have to use my guns to get those. Number 10 has a booby trap with some bowling balls, so I'll have to set off the trap with my gun, and then the bowling balls will roll down if everything goes according to plan, and then they'll knock down the number 10. Ready, set, begin. Okay, so number 1 is bowling, so here we go, bowling. Let's see if we can get it in the first shot. Got it. Number 1 is down. Number 2, down. Okay, we're gonna go for number 3. Jumping the ramp, getting across. Okay, so far so good. We got 2 down. 8 to go. Okay. Oh. Okay, number 3 is down. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. I'm just messing around a little bit. Okay, stay focused. This is the hardest part. Number 4. I've got to trigger these platforms just right, or else I'm sunk. Literally. Okay. If I can knock out the corners, I should be able to trigger the platform. And then it will create a place for me to drive across. Okay. 1 down, 2 platforms to go. Triggered that corner, that corner. Here it comes. Platform number 2. Okay, now I can shoot out number... Oh, no, no, no. Oh. I got stuck. Oh, can I get out of this? Oh. No. No. I've got to start over. Okay, let's just go right to number 4, because we already know how to trigger all the first 3. This number 4 is really difficult, as you can see. I got too close to the edge and the platform gave way. I kind of like it that some of the levels are very difficult. I think that's missing in some games nowadays, and starting to come back, where people really enjoy a challenge. I mean, that's really the point of a game, is competition and challenge. I think more modern times that games have become more of a way to distract yourself from reality, but I think if you're engaged and it's a challenge, you probably are even more distracted. So, but I guess it's just how much brain power do you want to use. So, okay, we got number 4 completed, which is the hardest one, so we're home free. Number 5, got that one down. Going for number 6. Over the hill and through the woods, rolling down the hill. Okay, number 6, down. Going for number 7 next. We got number 7 down, number 8's down, number 9's down. Last one, number 10. Here we go. Gotta get it in the crosshairs. Set off the booby trap. Get the bowling balls rolling down the hill. There they go. I think it's gonna work. There they go. Yes! Number 10 is down. They kind of bounced over the 0. They just knocked down the 1. But we'll give it a pass. We did it. It took us 2 tries, but hey, we did it. So, this is pretty cool. I have not slept that much in the last few days because I really wanted to figure out this machine gun. So, there's a few things I really like about this machine gun, and I worked hard to learn how to do each aspect. One aspect is that the bullets glow so that you can trace where they're at. You don't even need a crosshair. That's how machine guns are in real life, by the way. They have tracer rounds. Maybe not every single one like this one, but every 4th one, probably. And that's so you can just follow the glowing light into your target. And I like that about this. So there's no HUD, there's no fake computerized graphic showing you where to shoot. It's just all real, based on physics. So, and then also, obviously it's a machine gun, so it's auto fire. So all I have to do is click the mouse button, and it auto fires. And then when I let up on the mouse, it stops shooting. Oops, I'm stuck. Oh, no, I'm not. And the third thing, which is really tricky, and I don't even know how I really got it to work. I just kept trying things until it got to work. But when I move the camera, the gun follows my camera, which is really cool. I mean, you'd expect that from a first-person shooter, but from a car game, it's a little bit more involved. It's not as easy to do. But somehow, here I am. I've only been in game development for 2 or 3 weeks, and I've come a long way, and I'm really happy. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and read a lot of documents, and experimented long hours into the night. So, if you're ready for the ride, stay tuned, and let's go through how you can do this yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this and open up a previous project. So first of all, when you want to add a machine gun to your project, you could build it do the 3D modeling in a software like Blender, and then texture it, and then add animation, all that stuff, which would take weeks. Or you could just go to the marketplace on the Epic Games launcher marketplace, and then type in, minigun. Not spelled correctly, but this is the one. So I bought this because I thought it was the highest quality out of all of the different guns of this style. It has lots of good animation and sound effects and textures, everything included with it. So I gave it a 5-star review. And so I just purchased it, clicked on buy, and then it says owned. So now I go to my library, scroll down, and I can see it here. So what I want to do is, I have a previous version of the project without the gun installed yet. So I'm going to click on the add to project, and I'm going to go to my flywheel game alpha 1.0.4 test 2, and that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to click add to project, so it will upload all of those, or download, whichever you think of it as, all those files into that project. So now when I double click on the project, those files will be in there. The gun won't be in the scene yet. I need to add it and give it some functionality, which is what I'm going to show you how to do right now. And it's basically a bunch of different lessons and YouTube videos that I've learned and I put together. I'm just going to click these buttons so that it will finish importing all the textures and all the assets for that minigun. And so once it's done doing that, it's done processing. So now you'll notice that this car does not have a gun. But if I go to my content drawer down in the left bottom corner, I can see there's a Gatling gun folder, and this has everything in it. So the real Gatling gun with everything pulled together is in the blueprints folder. So this is with all the animation and functionality all built in. The only thing it doesn't have is, ironically, it doesn't have a fire button. It's just like if you get close to it, it starts shooting. That's just for testing purposes, so they could sell the asset. But I was like, couldn't figure that out at first, but now I know how to do it. So what I want to do is actually go to my vehicle template, blueprints, off-road car, and then this is my car blueprint, off-road car _ pawn. That's where all the car is pulled together. And if I go to my viewport tab in my car pawn, I can, there's different ways to do this, but just for speed's sake and simplicity, I'm just going to grab my gun blueprint and drag it into my scene with my car, and then move it, rotate it around to be facing the right direction. And move it. Oops. Okay. Close enough for right now. Speed up my camera a little bit. Okay, so that's enough to get started. So if we compile and save, and then we go back and play our game, you will see that it now has a gun attached to it. But if I press the mouse button, nothing happens. That's because the car project, the demo car project that I started off with, by default does not have a shoot or fire button. It just has driving functions. So if I go back to my main map tab, and then I go to settings in the top right hand corner and go to project settings, then I scroll down to where it says input, And then these are the inputs I have, which are just like brakes and stuff that I never use. So what I need to do is add a fire button input. So I'm going to click on the plus sign right here, and then name this this action fire. And then where it says what I'm going to map the button to, I'm going to click on that and go mouse, and then left mouse button. And that's it for this window. I can close that. Now, when I want to open up my minigun blueprint, and I can see this is where the animation and sound effects and everything are happening, but we have these, overlapping boxes that we don't need. It doesn't make sense for our game, so I'm just going to delete those. Those are the triggers. And instead, I'm going to add a trigger. I'm going to right click in here in the event graph of the minigun, right click, and then type in fire, because that's the button I just made in the project settings. So it's an input action fire, and it's mapped to the left mouse button. So when I press it, I want to fire off this animation and sound effects. So let's compile and save, and then play that and see what happens. Nothing happens, and there's a reason. I just have to remember. Oh, I remember what the reason is, because I'm not activating the gun. So if I click on this, I have to, I think if I click on the minigun, I have to enable it to player 0 so that it will actually be triggering it, so that it knows that I'm the one that's going to be inputting buttons to this object, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does or not, but so if I click on the minigun and it says input, receive, and I'm going to change it to player 0. So same thing with the car. So basically this is a new object. So now the car is getting input from me, the player 0, and also the gun is getting input from player 0. So I clicked on the gun, changed to player 0. In the previous video, I did that to the car too. So we're kind of doing a lot of the same things, but with the gun now. So now, when I click on the left mouse button, it should shoot. And it does. It does an animation, it twirls, and it does sound effects, which is good. But there's no bullets coming out, because that's not part of this asset. We have to make a bullet and then make it come out. So let's create a bullet. So we're in the right place. I want to be in the blueprints of the minigun. Right click in here, click on blueprint, click on actor, and then I'll type this name as bullet _ BP for blueprint. Now double click on that, and I'm going to add two things. I'm going to add a static mesh for the object, and then I'm going to add a projectile, so it's going to do the physics of shooting it. So add a static mesh, and then in the mesh type over here, static mesh type, I'm just going to do a cube, because it's just a simple shape, and if I can always change that shape to be a more defined mesh later, or just leave it as a cube. So basically this is going to be my bullet. So now I need to click on add to this bullet projectile. So click on projectile movement, and then where it says initial speed and max speed, I'm just going to turn that to 1,000 for each. So now I need to spawn that bullet every time I shoot the gun. So right here, when I press this, I want to come out here and say spawn. Spawn actor from class. And then I need to create something in here. I need to create an arrow, and that's going to be pointing where my bullet's shooting. So before I do anything else, I'm going to go to my viewport, because I've noticed that it kind of gets stuck sometimes if you don't do this part first. So in my minigun, I'm going to add and type in arrow. Okay, and then move it and rotate it to be in line with the barrel. Okay, so just out in front somewhere. I like to spawn a little bit in front so that it doesn't hit myself. I don't shoot myself, and you know, when I'm trying to shoot at some other people or other robots or fake targets or whatever you call them, not people. Don't shoot people. So now I have an arrow, so I'm going to go back to the event graph. So where I'm going to spawn this, where it says spawn transform, that is where I'm going to spawn this bullet. So pull that out and then type in arrow world, get world transform from arrow. There. Now where it says class, that's what I'm going to spawn. So I'll type in bullet. That's the bullet that we made. So now I'm telling it, when I shoot, spawn the bullet at the arrow, and then play the animation and the sound effects. So this should work. If I compile and save and then play it, and it worked, but it's going very slow. So, and it's not glowing yet. So let's go to the bullet, and where it says projectile movement, instead of 1,000, we'll change it to 10,000, and compile and save. And then let's just test that real quick and see if that's better. Okay, it's better. It's hard to see it though, but I do want to move or rotate this gun a little bit so that it's not shooting so low. It's shooting a little bit higher trajectory, because the bullets do have a little bit of gravity, just like real bullets do. So if they go far, they're gonna have a downward. So you want to have a little bit of an arc on your gun. So now we need to make the bullets glow. So let's go into our content drawer, and in the Gatling gun folder structure, go to materials, and then right click and say make a new material. We'll call this a bullet glow underscore M for material. Double click it, and then right click in here and say constant 3 vector, and that will give us a color, an RGB. Those are the 3 vectors. And then we'll change the color to kind of an orangish color right there. And then we will add a multiply, because we're going to multiply the glow factor into the emissive color. So we're going to take that same color into the multiply the A, and then do another constant single vector, and then give it a value of like 500. Let's see how that, and then that will make it glow, that orange glow. And I'll link a tutorial for this so you can, it'll slow it down a little bit for you. So now go to my my bullets. This is the, oh yeah, it's not docked. That always messes me up. So if I close that, save, yes. Yes, I want to save it. Now I can grab this material we just made. I thought it saved it. Okay. But it had that little asterisk, so that means it didn't save it yet. So now I can click on my static mesh, which is my bullet, and then where it says materials, I'm going to just drag in my glow material. Now the bullet's glowing. So let's test that. Compile, save, and test. Hey, what do you know? It's working. Okay, next step. Right now it's only semi-automatic. It's not fully automatic. So if I hold down the mouse button, it still only shoots once. So we can take care of that right now. So to do that, we're going to go back to our minigun event graph, and at the end, after it shoots a bullet and plays the animation and the sound effects, we're going to do a delay. So drag that pointer out and say delay, and we're going to delay it for 0.1 seconds. So because we want it to shoot 10 bullets every second. Then after the delay, let's pull it out, and we're going to create a branch. So the branch is going to say a condition. So we're going to create that condition by creating a variable. I'm going to link a tutorial for this he does it better than I do it. So in the description of this video, you can just watch that tutorial. It's a lot easier to follow than me. So just click on new variable, and it'll call this is firing. So we're gonna pull this out, and we're gonna set the variable is firing. So if the mouse button is pressed, then checkbox yes, it is firing. Okay, so now from here, the condition of our branch, we're going to set that to is firing. So is firing. So we're going to get, so if the mouse button is pressed and we're creating bullets, then we created a variable that is now set to is firing. So if it's firing, then it's true. Then we want to loop it around and create another bullet. So as long as we held down the mouse button, it will keep creating bullets in this loop. And then as soon as we let up, actually what we have to do is pull this out, or copy paste this to get another one, and uncheck, so that when it's released, now is firing is unchecked. So we created two states of this variable. One is if the mouse button is pressed, it's firing. If it's released, it's not firing. So now this should give us our automatic weapon. Let's save, or compile, save, and test. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah. That's more like it. Okay, we got our fully auto weapon. And it's glowing and everything's working. The only thing that's not working so far is this last step, is that I really like it that when I move my mouse left and right or up and down, I can move my camera and I can still drive, but I can see in different angles. But I want my gun to point where my camera is looking, so I can shoot aim in different places, kind of like a first-person shooter, but with a car, kind of mimicking that functionality is what I want. So that's a little bit tricky, So to do that, I kind of had to just play around with it for a while. So I went to my car, double clicked on my off-road car pawn, and we'll go to my event graph. So in my event graph, I've got these two actions. Input axis look right, so that's the action of moving my mouse left and right. Okay, I don't know why they call it look right. I would probably call it look side to side or something like different. It could have had a different name, but they chose look right means side to side. And then input axis look up means up and down. Okay, so what these functions that are already created here, they're not for the gun, they're for the camera. They're already set up. And I started messing around with it, and I couldn't get it back to the beginning, so it's a little bit messed up from the initial car demo, and I didn't save an in-between. So I kind of messed up there, because I was just trying so many different things, I didn't think to save an in-between step. But so basically, this is look side to side, this is the camera, and this is the spring arm. So it's controlling, when I move my mouse, the spring arm moves. So what the spring arm is, if I click on the spring arm here, you can see this line. The spring arm is just an invisible line that connects the camera to the car. So when I drive the car around, the camera follows it. Because you don't want the camera to just be left in the dust. You want the camera to come along with you, and then you can rotate it, and the spring arm will rotate the camera around the car while the car is moving. So I wanted this same control to control the gun. So if I find my gun and I drag that out, and then where it says target, I want the spring arm and the minigun. So now when I move my mouse left and right, compile, save, test, it should move my camera and also the gun, and it does. Which is pretty nice. I enjoyed it. I enjoy it almost as much as a cup of coffee in the morning. Okay, so we're almost there. One tiny little step to go, but it's very important, because let's say you're driving along, you're mowing down these targets, but there's this target above your head. Oh, I can't get it because I gotta point my gun up to shoot that target. So that one is the trickiest one, and I had to come down here, and what I did is I made sure that there was an axis created for all three axes, because when I first did it to the same channel, just how I did this one, the left and right, I did the same thing here. It did not work. It made the gun tilt side to side. The axis is not the same as the camera on that gun. I don't know if that's the way they created it, or it's just the function of that the cameras are different than objects. But however the case, I had to move around these nodes a little bit, and what happened was I ended up having to create this extra node and then have the lookup go into the X instead of the Y, because I'll just show you. If I take this minigun and I try to do the same thing I did up there and just think it's gonna work on this original one, and I just drag this off here, I'll show you what happens. So when I look up, the gun twists side to side instead of looking up and down. It's hard to see, but it's just turning it side to side. It's like the axis is weird. So I had to make a new one and map it to the lookup And so so I'm going to just break this connection. And so I'm going to put it over here. And I also had to create this branch so that I could continue this loop, because it has to be continuous. So it's really weird. I don't understand it all myself. I just know that I fiddled with it and eventually I got it to work. So here it is. And I think this will work if I play this, and if I look up, the gun points up, and yep, it works. Look down, the gun points down. And here's where I said I spawn the bullet a little bit far away from the gun so that I don't shoot myself. In real life, you would actually shoot yourself right in the engine, but that would get a little bit annoying if you're playing a game and then all of a sudden you blow up yourself. It would be much more realistic, but I like to fake things a little bit just for the sake of fun. Not everything has to be 100% realistic. It's a game. I like realism, but not at the expense of fun. I like realism to a point where it just becomes a little bit of annoying, and then I'm like, nah, let's make it a little bit more gamey. So it's my personal preference. I like a mixture of realism and gaminess. I like the real, like, physics that I can just smash through a pile of 3D objects and it kind of behaves like it would in real life. It's like the foam pit when you're at the rec center and you just jump off the trampoline into the foam pit. Oh, yay, yay. Except they don't let you bring in a fully automatic mini machine gun into a rec center. But that's where video games, you can mix a little bit of reality with a little bit of fantasy and extraordinary things that you almost 100% likely would not get to do in real life. Like drive a car with a minigun on top of it and shoot a ton of targets. Some people get to do that, but usually those people are in the military or work for the military, and so you have your choice. You can go to the military or you can play a game. Either way, they're both options. Ooh. Okay. Until next episode. Thank you, everybody.